Rich said, saw your post on collaborating with competitors and gave me a whole new outlook. It also got me thinking about how to approach referral partners, right? I'm following you, giving them something without asking it for anything in return strategy, then hoping they'll respond to the question that gives me a foot in the door. Would it not be easier to jump straight out of the pitch, some sort of collab idea you talked about in your competitor post? There's always more than one way to do something. You said it yourself, so I was thinking maybe it's worth finding out both strategies. Don't want to spend time doing something when I could invest that time into a better strategy. Jacob says, looks like the latest trend is selling AI-created digital products. Patrick says, anyone here have experience in finding people who need a team to handle fulfillment behind the scenes? Come on, baby. There we go. We have done it. We have achieved internet glory. We are inside the machine and back for another weekly Q&A. You guys are asking the good questions. I'm doing my best to be a helpful degenerate answering it. I cannot help my degenerate nature, which is why you guys see me lead off with the shocker. Quick little announcement before we get rock and rolling. For those of you guys who've been thinking of joining the Wolfpack, I did something special that I have not done in a long time. So I actually lowered my prices, and part of the reason is we built tools and stuff that have enabled it so that we can help more people and infrastructure and things like that. And so I want to help more people. So if you guys have been thinking up leveling your agency and you want to be around other cool agency owners doing cool shit, I'll tell you, just the sanity you'll get alone from being around other agency owners doing it, you can't even quantify how much or less crazy you'll feel being around people who are actually like in the trenches doing this shit. So if you guys are interested in that, you can check out beyondagencyprofits.com/Wolfpack, and I'm making a little video of me talking here behind the scenes. Anyways, let's get into the good stuff here. I'm just gonna hit the music. Hit the music. I wasn't prepared for this today. It's a little impromptu here. Here we go. We got you guys would be amazed. I have an entire AI library of songs.
Ladies and gentlemen, gather round. Your questions matter. Let's break it down. Hold them guns flex. Hold the game. You and me. Let's bring the flame.
I'll tell you what's been interesting for me, and this is a little trend since a few of you guys actually asked about kind of a little bit about the future. Not that I know what the future holds. I do not hold a crystal ball. But I suspect more people are going to do what we did, which is that it's kind of cool that I can make songs about me instead of just random people on the radio. So I suspect that one of the side effects of it is everybody's going to have their own personal library of stuff. You make songs about anything you want. By the way, I make funny songs about my friends and shit like that. If you guys want to hear one of those or whatever, shoot me a message and I'll send you some examples of what I've created. Anyways, let's get into the good stuff. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, Frankie Fihn proudly brings to you our weekly Q&A. All right. Shenanigans are over. Let's get into the good stuff. You guys got questions. I'm doing my best to shoot my mouth off and answer. Larry says, after consuming Frankie and Jason's content, I realized there are a lot of opportunities in nurturing current leads. Think of people asking for offers and never calling back, missed calls, emails, old clients. This can be done by email marketing, automation, or just installing a simple CRM. Most of it, if not all of our competitors, are focused on cold audiences. I was thinking of approaching pay-per-click agencies to white label those services. I'm sure they regularly have complaints, the lead sucks from their clients. Anyone doing those services can give some insights. So firstly, just so you know, my dude, to your original comment, that I look at any sort of high ticket sale. So this doesn't apply, like, for example, where I'm at in the world, a lot of times they got a chocolate bar at the counter or something. That's an impulse purchase. It's $1. It's usually binary. You buy the chocolate bar, you don't. There's not like a big long decision that goes into it. But this is not true for like $5,000 items or $100,000 items or even $1 million items, right? Like there's also a process that people go through. And what happens is, what business owners are generally really after is they want cash flow, and they believe that the only way to do that is to get more new people. So they will say, I need more strangers. What's up, Mavis here? They'll say, I need more new people in my system. I need more strangers. And they're not lying to you, by the way. They believe that to be true. But you have to understand that that is an assumption and that is wrong. And throughout that process, they're constantly dropping the ball. And so if you understand this, this is most of what we do when we do revenue share partnerships. We don't come in and say, hey, I'll be your stranger and pick up leads off the street for you and bring them all the way to close. Rather, I'll pick up what's dropped along the way, help close them for you, and collect cash. So I think of Justin, for example. So he was working with a contractor, for example. He did a $90,000 partnership last year. And what they were looking for is they do these big custom marble stone jobs. They take a lot of effort to quote because they have to firstly find out how much the material costs and what's involved in the labor and the machines, all that kind of shit. And what they found is, like most people, they believe I need more new strangers. But we know that they don't follow up with people with quotes. They're not quick enough. They're not fast enough. So Justin simply tapped into their, what I would call almost bots, people that got a quote, saw the price, nobody contacted him again, and so he was able to create a whole new revenue stream out of the almost bots. And what happens is they pay him a commission just like they would pay any salesperson every time he closed a deal. And I think, by the way, I don't correct me if I'm wrong because I don't know the details, but I think he made 90 grand for like 3 months worth of work, right? Like that's very hard to do in a retainer, like 30K a month. And the secret is understanding that they drop people throughout that process. So to your question, do these deals work? Yes. And I would suggest not doing that on a retainer, but doing that on a partnership because you'll make more money, both for you and your partner. And all you're simply doing is asking, pay me a commission like any salesperson. But unlike what most people do, we're not starting with the hardest to convert leads. The opposite. By the way, the easiest to convert lead is a customer, somebody who's already buying it now. The second easiest to convert lead is someone who bought it in the past, also known as a database reactivation in our world. Then there's the almost bought. And before you even need to go to cold strangers, almost always there's hundreds of thousands of dollars in opportunities in those three places. Either they're not selling enough to existing customers, they're not selling enough to past customers, or they ain't taking the ball across the finish line for people who almost bought it. And so, yes, there's huge opportunities like that. If I was in your shoes and trying to do this for a PPC agency or somebody like that who has clients who suck at that, I would offer to do it for the first one for free, because what I wouldn't really be after is that single client. I would do this for an agency that literally has hundreds and hundreds of clients that all say, the leads suck, and say, hey, make sure that person already has hundreds of clients before you go to offer. And I'd say, hey, let me just do this setup for one of your people for free, help them close the lead, which will help you keep them longer because they're going to pay you more if the leads are converting. And if you like it, I would like to do it for everybody. We can, I'd like to do it for more of your people is probably a better way of asking that. And then what you can do is you can get paid. I call this being the goal line running back. So for those of you guys who don't play American football, they bring the ball 99 yards up the field. They get 1 yard from the end zone, and often the guy they bring in to gain the last 1 yard is a different type of player than the guy they use to get up the field. So, for example, when they're running the ball, often there's a speedy running back who is elusive and things like that. But when it's 1 yard, usually you want a big, muscly kind of hulking dude to just smash everybody and just because he's only got to get 1 yard, right? We're not trying to outrun everybody. We're just trying to go, this far up the field, this one little teeny tiny distance and smash it in. And there's a lot more money, by the way, in being a goal line running back than there is in being the person who, in our line of work, who does this, trying to bring the ball all the way up the field. Cole says we call it pounding it in. I get a giggity out of that. But yes, pounding it in. Pounding it in, by the way. And I believe this is the secret. And I'll tell you why. Every business owner, if you talk to 100 of them, this is what they're going to tell you. I need more new people. Okay, so they believe that to be true. But what they actually struggle with most, and they don't know this is the real problem, by the way, is that their long-term customer value and their conversion rates are not high enough. Let me say that again. They're going to tell you I need new people, and their problem is their long-term customer value and their conversion rates are not high enough. So if you help them with their actual real problem, which is their long-term customer value or the conversion rates, and do it for a fee, you will make a lot more money than if you help them get strangers, because that's what they're going to tell you they need. And this is, by the way, I wrote about this in version 3.0, Beyond the Agency Box, by the way. I went way deeper on revenue share partners because I knew like version 1.0 was kind of light on it. Same with version 2.0. And then I got all these questions people asked me, and I decided to incorporate all those questions and go deeper into how to create partnerships. But man, why go after partnerships and try and sell the hardest people first when they got so many easy people? I'll give you guys a real life example of this, by the way, of this in the real world. I was talking with Mark Diodati, and he works with HVAC contractors. And he was running Facebook ads, cold strangers, by the way, which is what they say they need. And I was talking to him about it, and he said, well, truthfully, I know I'm kind of mediocre as a Facebook ad agency. Like, I'm not terrible, but I know there's better people than me. And I just, out of curiosity, said, look, what did you do before this? And he said, oh, I actually worked in HVAC. So what did you do? He said, I was a salesperson. And I said, were you any good? He said, yeah, I was consistently the #1 salesperson in the company. I said, that's interesting. How did you do it? Here's what he said. He said, what I did is typically you close about 3 of the 10 proposals you give out. So 7 out of 10 times you don't hear back from the person, you hear no. He said, I would just wait a week. I would call those 7 people back, and I would say, is there anything we could have done to win back your business? Was it price? Was it money? And almost always they would say, yeah, it was a money thing. They would say, and he would say, can we finance it? And sometimes they'd say, yeah, if you finance it, I'll buy it. Or sometimes they say, yeah, it was just like a bottom dollar price. And then he would say, let me talk to my boss. If I can knock it off $500, would you be down to do this deal? And he would win back some of the deals. And my question to him was, why can't you do that as an agency service? Why do you got to run Facebook ads to strangers when they do all this work running ads, getting people to watch their website, read the reviews, pick up the phone, that guy drives over to their house, he gives them a quote, he talks to them for an hour, he hands them a piece of paper and says this is what they would charge you, and then they drop the fucking ball at the 1-yard line. And you, as a goal line running back, come in and go, let me pick that up and fucking smash it a yard. And by the way, smashing it a yard is a lot easier. It's like, hey, was it a money thing? Is there anything we could have done? I was like, why can't you do that at scale? So he ended up signing up 20 clients his first month, and all he said was, in essence, I'll be your goal line running back. I'll do it just like a commission salesperson. If I win you some deals, and he talked to companies that have at least 100 deals that they're quoting every month, and now he's got 70 opportunities. And by the way, a $20,000 system, they pay 10% commission to a salesperson anyway, so now they're just giving it to Mark, and that's $2,000 for one sale. Right? You think you call 70 people back who almost bought it, you're going to make one sale? And the reason I say that, people struggle so hard to convert a $2,000 a month client. Meanwhile, it's as easy as, right? Like, just call them. Hey, was it my thing? Yeah, it was. Well, what if we did this? That would work. Okay, there's your $2,000. Welcome to the team. Right? So, I think this is the future of running agencies. It's not, I'll be your cold stranger guy, which is what business, and it's confusing because if you talk to business owners, that's what they're going to tell you they need. And you have to ignore them and say, hey, what if I picked up some of the stuff that, fell off the field 5 yards away and helped you turn it into points? Would you pay me for some points? And almost always they're like anybody who comes to you and says, I'll bring you sales, can I have a commission for it? Like, generally speaking, that's an automatic yes, straight to the front of the line. So anyways, I hope that's helpful. We got Larry part 2. He says, anyone work with industrial niches, thinking CNC, welding shops, plastics, injection mold, fabrication, or even engineering firms? Usually they work with a few the big clients and rarely have a need for PPC or SEO. They could use automation and email marketing to nurture their current leads and to deal with follow-ups. Just wondering if anyone has any insights to share. I can imagine it has a high entry bar as they tend to keep it to referrals and trade shows. So yes, we do have people in those industries, and yes, you are correct. So the biggest challenge with those industries, as you pointed out, and why most people don't gravitate to them, is because, as you pointed out, like nobody's searching for industrial machine 752 on Google and then converting from a website. And this throws a lot of people off, is those industries tend to have very long sales cycles. So like one guy we know who's in that industry, his average sales cycle, just so you know, is like 3 years. 3 years. So from the time they start talking to somebody till a signed contract and cash is collected and they begin the work, there's like 1,000 days, right? So I'll tell you what most of these guys struggle with if you were to want to build an agency in those industries is exactly as you mentioned: nurture, follow up. And a lot of them, by the way, they know the simplest thing is they know how to technically explain what their solution is and what it does. What they do not know how to explain, which dramatically shrinks the sales cycle, is they do not know how to explain what that will do for the end client. It sounds ridiculously simple, but like, for example, they'll go on about the GH75 machine and how it's faster and it has top-notch efficiency and lubricated parts and all this kind of shit, but they don't know how to say it'll spit out twice as many parts so that every worker will make you twice as much money, right? That's all they really care about. Like, oh, I can make twice as many parts and make twice as much money. Boom! Where do I sign up? Right? Like that makes my chest sound extra strong when I do that. By the way, right? I got a dad bod, but we're not hiding it over here. But if you know how to do that, because what they'll do is a lot of times they'll create these long technical reports and proposals and overly formal emails, and they don't know how to translate that to what happens for that client in their real world experience. Hey, you can cut your staffing costs by $300,000 a year if you install this machine. Or you know how that part used to always break every 3 months? Now it won't break for a year and a half, and you don't have to replace it 6 times for a year and a half, right? Like they don't know how to do that. Really basic shit. And why? Because they're not sales and marketing people. They're often engineers. They're engineers. By the way, in a former life, I was an engineer. So engineers know how to explain technical shit, but they don't know how to explain why somebody would need to care about that technical shit. Like if an engineer was selling you an iPhone, by the way, they would talk about the circuit board and they would talk about how it's fast loading, and they would talk about the operating system. What they wouldn't go is like, look how cool this thing is. You can take pictures of everybody. You can install your social app and hang with your friends. You can put music on it. That's what they don't know how to do. Is they don't know how to explain like this is what it does for you, and so they get lost in technical details. And so if you don't mind translating technical stuff, you can clean up in those industries. But what trips people up is almost everybody locks themselves into this box of I do SEO, pay-per-click, and websites, right? Like some form of one of those things. I run SEO, paid ads, and websites, right? But in reality, in a lot of their case, you're going to help them create flyers and reports and translate to everyday English. This is why you should give a fuck. I actually remember I've got a friend in one of those industries now. He's in oil and gas. And he sent me, what do you think about this proposal trying to win a job? And it was 50 fucking pages of technical nonsense. And I asked him one question: why would anybody fucking care? And he said, well, this tool makes it so we can inspect all their pipeline faster and save them like hundreds of thousands of dollars and like no loss of integrity. I'm like, why just say that in one fucking slide? That's it. Not like, oh, our G275 tool is brewing, blah, blah, blah. Like, no, like use this thing to save a few $100,000. There'll be no loss. And we can get you the data. If you want, we'll run a little test for you and prove to you it works just as good as the other tool. Do you want it? So anyways, I'm ranting a little bit here, but man, like those industries, those are some of the easiest ones to sell in. I call it being the tallest midget, right? Like if you're just simply the dude who's the tallest in the midget world, then you're going to crush it, right? And in their case, like you're not dealing with salespeople, you're not dealing with marketers, you're not dealing with other experts, you're dealing with engineers who've never fucking sold anything in their entire life. So man, it's a real fucking low bar to be the tallest midget, right? Like a 50-page presentation, and all you're trying to tell them is like it'll save you $300,000 and you won't lose anything. That's it. Really? It'll save 300 grand? Like you got to make decisions easy for people, and most of those people in those industries don't know how to do it. So tallest midget is easy. One of the reasons, by the way, I like working with lawyers back in the day when we did a ton of stuff with attorneys is exactly that, man. It's not hard to be the tallest midget in a world of people going, I'll fight hard and get you every penny you deserve. And they wouldn't explain, why would a client care that you're aggressive? And here's the thing that I learned, like in that industry. I'll give you another example of this, right? A lot of clients who hired attorneys say, the first thing they say is, had all these fucking medical bills. And every attorney in the world helps them with their medical bills, and none of them say anything about that, right? It's the number one friend of mine thinking of a person who's been in an accident. I got all these medical bills. They go, I fight hard, I'm aggressive, I'm a top-notch 35 years of experience trial lawyer, instead of, hey, you know those medical bills over there? I can help you with those. Much easier, by easy to be the tallest midget in those kind of worlds. So, be the tallest midget. That's the moral of the story. Today's all about midgets, right? That's what we're here for. Rich said, saw your post on collaborating with competitors. It gave me a whole new outlook. It also got me thinking about how to approach referral partners. Right now I'm following you, giving them something without asking for anything in return strategy, then hoping they'll respond with a question that gives me a foot in the door. Would it not be easier to jump straight out of the pitch, some sort of collab idea you talked about in your competitor post? There's always more than one way to do something. You've said it yourself, so I was thinking maybe it's worth finding out both strategies. Don't want to spend time doing something when I could invest that time into a better strategy. I believe collaborating with the top people is the strategy personally. Obviously, I'm a little biased because I clearly, that's what I'm preaching. So, but having said that, I feel like I've done all the strategies that you can do to grow an agency over 20 years. I've done the one-to-ones, cold calling, cold outreach, DMs. I've done the paid ads and done very well with paid ads, I might add. I've done the content strategies. I have done the referral partners. I have done the networking. I have done the job sites, the Fiverr and the Upwork. And I've also done work with the top people in your industry, the audience owners, as I call them. And I just find that to be a better strategy. So this is a thing that trips people up when you are collaborating with people. It sounds really simple, but if you want to get your foot in the door, help them with their shit. So we just had Jeremy in the Wolfpack, which I'm super proud of him if you're watching Jeremy, by the way. But Jeremy in the Wolfpack, so he's in the accounting industry, and he helped them create a series of social posts to sell their event, which ChatGPT wrote, by the way. And they were all stoked because they sold tickets, and it helped them, and now they're having like an expert panel of people at their event, and he's coming there to speak. And I know from experience that like one speaking gig will lead to other speaking gigs, which never sucks, by the way. And he'll make a lot of money speaking. Now, if he had started with, I'm Jeremy and I do SEO. Let me tell you about SEO. I very much doubt he would have got his foot in the door as quickly as if he said, hey, I noticed you guys are trying to sell your event, and so I put together some stuff to help you sell your event. Like, that's how you start a collaboration. And this trips people up, man. Like, you have no idea, because there ain't some fucking magic line, and there ain't some, like, easy thing that works on everybody. Paul, what's up, my dude? Paul Monday's in the house, guys. So part of it is you have to learn to ignore the bullshit in our space and get into realism. And what I mean by that is, like, so the first guy I ever knew making real internet money was our man Dave Miz, who runs a really awesome e-commerce agency these days. They're a multi-seven-figure agency. He does really cool shit. One of the things that Dave Miz was part of was the whole dating world. And so it sent me down this whole like dating, seduction, pickup stuff. And I was mostly just interested in Dave and what Dave was doing, not necessarily the whole industry, but it got me into that. And I remember the most popular thing in dating, by the way, this is the most popular subject and has been for like 20 years, is the pickup line. What is the magic line you are going to say that's going to get every woman to be instantly attracted to you, want to sleep with you, get married, whatever? And if you're not a fucking idiot, there ain't no magic pickup line. Just like there ain't no one thing that always works on partners. So it's principle-based, and I always look for, it sounds really simple, but I spend 2-3 minutes with every partner. I look at their website, I look at their socials, and I get a feel for what are they trying to do? What are they trying to sell? And then I go, how can I help them with their thing? And I try and do it in like 5 or 10 minutes, help them move the needle, so I can get the foot in the door for my thing and begin our collaboration. And if you start from that place of thinking about how do I help them to do what they're trying to do, not what I want to push on people, that will come in step 2 or step 3 or step 4. I understand that I'm not going to get paid up front. I'm going to get paid later. And that's entrepreneurship, by the way. Any of you guys who started a business, did you make mountains of money on day one? Or did you fucking struggle for a period of time and then make mountains of money later, right? Like it ain't any different, right? Cool thing is you can make much bigger piles of money later if you're willing to do stuff for other people first. And so what I do is I think about like what would move the needle for them in 10 minutes or less, based on what they're trying to do. And then that's how I open partnerships. It sounds really simple, but sometimes like I'll help them with their events. Sometimes I'll help them with their magazines. Sometimes I help them with their podcast. The collaborations are always different, but they're always based on the same principle, right? Same way that like there ain't no magic pickup line, but if you notice something about the girl and you talk to her about something specific you noticed about her, like that principle's never going to go out of style. So it may be different what you say every single time, but like the principles never change, right? So yes, you can absolutely lead with collaboration on step one. The only thing is intentionally make the size, and when I say size, I don't mean monetarily, I mean the size of time small out of the gate. So like, for example, I never really thought about this when I sold SEO for like my first decade, but I had a really hard to sell offer. It was like somebody would say, I'm interested in SEO, and I'd say, well, let's work together for 12 months, and you pay me $1,200 a month, that was my price. And I'll try and rank you. And they would say, well, is it guaranteed to work? And I'd say, well, no, because Google's kind of crazy, but most times it works. But, you know, there's always variables based on Google. They can change the game. It's like playing a football field, changing the number of downs and the size of the field, and the rules are changing as you're moving up the field. But generally speaking, yeah, it works. And they would always say, okay, well, send me a proposal. And then I'd have to like follow them up and chase them. And I didn't realize that, but the biggest thing that actually stopped people from saying yes, especially ones who had money, it wasn't the amount of money I was asking for. It was the size of the commitment. It was like, I don't know you. You're asking to work together for the next year. That's like a long fucking time to commit to a stranger, right? So I'll tell you what changed that is like when we started asking for smaller upfront. And this is especially true when you collaborate with partners because you represent an unknown to them. So if you understand that, you understand you have to prove yourself and things like that and help them with their thing. I just come in guns blazing. And by the way, this takes practice, but I never ask for permission. I just fucking do it. And so there's a tendency to think like for example, like in the water damage space, when I went to the industry associations, there's a tendency to go, hey, like one of the things I recognized, they needed magazine content. So there's a tendency to go, hey, is it okay to let me write for you? Sometimes they'll say yes to that. But usually, like, I just fucking took the initiative and I wrote it and I say, hey, I noticed there's a gap in the stuff you guys were publishing to really help you guys sell magazines, which is what you're trying to do, not what I'm trying to do. So I created this thing because I think AI is huge and I wanted to show you guys how AI is affecting your industry already. And if you like it, you can publish it. If you don't, that's cool too, because I'm going to come back tomorrow and send you another one. And so I call it that frame, the benevolent dictator. Benevolent dictator is like, I'm trying to help you, but I'm going to tell you how shit is going down. And this is a thing that really trips people up because I'll tell you, mindset-wise, in our poor and middle class values, everything in our society is structured where other people have to give you permission first to do shit. If you wanted to be a lawyer today, you got to go to school for like 6-7 years. You want to be a doctor? Like 7 years, probably like also like an internship or something after. You want to be an engineer? It's 4 years. And then you got to work 4 years under a professional engineer, at least where I'm from, before you can officially license yourself. So it takes 8 years and somebody else tells you when you're ready. Entrepreneurship is the opposite. You're ready when you say you're ready. You're qualified when you say you're qualified. And you put yourself out there when you choose to put yourself out there. So there's a tendency to think you're constantly asking other people's permission, and you have to learn to just like, no, I'm just going to go do it. It's benevolent. I'm helping you, right? Like I know your industry association is trying to sell fucking magazines. I know how important that is to you for advertising and sponsorship and readership and all those things. So I'm just, homie over here is just going to go fucking do it. I ain't asking anyone's permission. I'm just going to do it. And I got to screaming a little toddler. For those of you guys who got toddlers, you understand that game. But anyways, to that point, it's like you don't wait for any permission. You just kick the fucking door and said, I did some cool shit for you. But in a nice way, in a kind way. Like, But it takes mental practice to think, because like in most of life, you're constantly asking permission. Like you apply for a job, that hiring manager decides you need their permission for the next step. But in entrepreneurship, you're like, no, I just went and did some shit for you because I recognize you're trying to sell a magazine. And the real thing that you're after, by the way, is to get in front of, with their endorsement, their audience. People underestimate in our industry the value of endorsement. You have no idea how much money you can make off of the value of simple endorsements. Like, and imagine, for example, since Rich asked the question, we'll use Rich. Let's say Rich is trying to fundraise money, and Warren Buffett gets on TV and says, hey, I'm investing in Rich's business, and I think you guys should do it too. He's going to have $1 billion before he wakes up tomorrow because of Warren Buffett's endorsement. Well, there are tons of industries where there are people who have that same level of influence on their audience, but are way less famous and way easier to reach, right? Like industry association guy, for example. And so, yeah, just cool shit. Anyways, I hope that's helpful, my dude, but I hope that understands that you can collaborate, you can, and by the way, I've mentioned this before, but we got a couple of people in our mastermind that are living proof of this concept, but it takes one partner, one good fucking strategic partner to make $1 million a year. One in your agency. And by the way, for most of you guys to make $1 million a year, depending on your price, most of you guys are probably in the like $100 to $3,500 a month. I know some of you guys are lower than that, and some of you guys are like much higher than that, but most of you guys, by and large, are in the $100 to $3,500 a month. Like, we're talking, you need anywhere from like 20 to like 80 clients to hit $1 million a year. Like, it's not like you need 1 billion people, right? 83,000 a month is $1 million a year, by the way. You got a $2K a month offer. You got 41 people you got to convince, right? That's not an unclimbable mountain, just know. Anyways, a little bit aside. Jacob says, looks like the latest trend is selling AI-created digital products. All right, I'm going to take my hat off for a minute and get with my messy hair for this rant. So, there is very little in our society that AI is not going to touch. That's just how it is, right? I'll put my hat back on for the rant because my hair looks too shitty right now for me. Anyways, there is very little in our society that AI is not going to touch. It's only a question of how, not if, and it's really a question of when. I see this, and I don't hold a crystal ball, but so take this as one guy's prediction. But I knew in the very early days of the internet that this was going to have like implications for everybody. I didn't know how, I didn't know the details, but I was like, when I remember telling people like, you're not on the internet, they're like, no, I ain't into that computer shit. And then 20 years later, those people buy everything they fucking own from Amazon, right? So like, AI is going to be like that. So I don't think it's a new trend that AI is creating products. Now, I'll tell you what screws people up when trying to use AI, which, by the way, Jonathan Matz and I have had this conversation. The number one question people ask is, how do I use AI to make money? And in some ways, most people are coming from the wrong place. So Dusan Dukovic, by the way, let me see if I can find this real quick. This is one of my favorite books, by the way, Straight Line Leadership by this guy. He calls it your internal stance. It means, where are you coming from on the inside when you do shit? And he took the example of a really weak stance, by the way, is every year, January 1st, a bunch of people say, this is a year that I'm going to lose some weight. And you know what happens by February 1st? Like 98% of those people have quit. And the reason is, if you could look at them on the inside, if you could look at fully committed on one end of the spectrum, and I'm going to dabble and see what happens on the other, I promise you they're much closer to the dabble than they are to the I'm going to do this for real. Right? And so what happens is, when it comes to AI and making money, there is, I'm going to use this as a tool to help people and make stuff better, faster, more advanced. And then there is, I'm looking for the laziest, cheapest, do nothing, make a quick buck kind of internet magic money. And I promise you, like 99% of the people are going to use it for here. Which means, by the way, there's just going to be more noise in our space. There's just going to be more fucking noise. And the real advantage is here, and the key with this is, One of my mentors, Travis, always says, effective before efficient. That means before you automate some shit, before you try and crank out the shittiest cheap version of it, figure out how a process works for real. For real. Right? Like, for example, if I was trying to make an exercise tape for somebody, I would first train real people to get in shape, and then maybe I might make a home study course. Right? So, like, for example, like with Loom videos, I didn't jump right into selling shit by video. I did lots and lots and lots of sales calls and actually had to sell shit face to face. And then I tried it with video. And now we're at the point, by the way, for those of you guys who purchased our Loom course, you know this, we got a GPT. Like, you can go in there, tell it about your service, and it goes, and generates all your slides for you. But that's after many iterations, because we started with effective first and then added efficiency. So my rant on this is to say, don't be the dude or dudette who's looking for the cheapest, laziest, most low effort, how do I make some magic internet monies, because that's the surest way you won't make money. Instead, go, what are some real, and usually, by the way, I start with people first. Who do I want to help? Then I start with problems second. What problems they got? And then we create some tools. So we've just been playing around and having a little bit of fun, but Max and I have been creating some AI micro tools. So I went deep on this in passive automated recurring income. Max acquired a Facebook group for like 50, 80 bucks, something like that. He bought a guitar group of like 65,000 people. And that group has since doubled since he bought it in a few months. So it's now like 130-ish thousand people or something like that. And we got all these people. So the who is obvious in that community. Then we just started asking them problems. And one of the problems we didn't expect was they all said, like a lot of them said, I'm older, I have arthritis, and I can't play guitar like I used to. I have to modify songs. But when I go online and I look up a song, it doesn't tell me how to play it like a modified, easier way. It tells me the normal way to play it, but my hands just don't do what they used to, and I get really discouraged. And so we went and created a tool that will take any song and modify it so that it'll play it with arthritis. And by the way, we started with the real world working process of like, how do you simplify a song? And then we created an AI tool. But we started with people and problems. And we built something that's actually useful. And by the way, it's 100% delivered by AI. And right before we started, I just got a little notification in my inbox. Somebody signed up for our arthritis guitar tool, which has been pretty steady the last few couple of days. We've only created it like a week ago or something like that. But to the point, people are going to create 300-page ebooks about nothing. And people are going to create long-winded fucking gobbledygook. But it's just trying to make a quick buck. And I'm not against you guys making quick and easy, fast money. But there has to be underlying real-world value for it to be able to sustain itself. Right? And so if you just go, what's the quickest, easiest way I can make money? You're probably not going to actually create anything that has any real value. And almost always, by the way, the easiest way to help people is create tools that make implementing it easier, faster. And so, to me, if I was in the create digital courses, most of these are going to be shit, by the way, because the stance people have is, I need a quick buck. I need money now. And by the way, I've met people, because I've been doing this long enough, that tell me, I need a quick buck now. Scarcity. And I say, why don't you go solve a real problem? They say, I don't have time for that now. And then 3 years later, they message me again, and they go, I need to make a quick buck. No. What do I do? I'm like, well, if you solved a real problem 3 years ago, we would not be having this discussion now. So I'm all for AI courses and tools, just so you guys know. It sounds like I'm against it. I'm not. Just make sure it solves, like that there's real underlying value, that it actually helps somebody to do something specific, and then your courses are going to be fucking awesome, even if they're entirely AI generated. If you skip to the, hey, what's the laziest, quickest, most do-nothing kind of way I can make a quick internet dollar, make me an ebook that I can sell for $5, like, you're probably going to make shit, just so you know. Just in the same way that, like, somebody who says, like, I'll go to the gym one time and I'll try it and we'll see how that goes. And then they, February 1st, cancel their gym membership. Right? Don't be that dude, is all I'm saying. Don't be that dude. Anyways, I hope that's helpful. That's my rant on trends. It's that It sounds simple, but here's the shortcut. Actually fucking help people. You can't cheat the universe long term. Create good shit. Create valuable products, tools, stuff that you would be proud to give your fucking grandma. That's the ultimate test. If your grandma came and said, hey, I want to give you $75, or I want to give you $2,000 a month for this service, would it be worth it, Sonny? If you're like, yes, Grandma, it is, then you're probably in a good place. If you're like, hold on, Grandma, don't give me your credit card, because this is just a cheap, get-rich-quick kind of thing. And by the way, I'm guilty of this too, just so you guys know. I ain't throwing stones at you. My first 2 years online, I tried probably about 200-300 different ideas to make quick internet bucks. Here's a real thing I did. Not bragging, just saying it is. I tried all kinds of different things. There's a thing on there called e-whoring. And e-whoring is back in the day, a lot of these dating apps and sites and stuff, they would pay you $3-4 every time they got a free sign up, because they knew if you got enough people on them, it would average out, some people would pay them and so forth. So I would pretend, I would go on discussion forums, I would create a pretty girl like next door, not like supermodel hot, but like pretty girl next door kind of vibe, and go to places where a lot of dudes were, sports things and places like that. And you don't have to do much. Dudes flock to you, and they message you, and they hit on you, and you pretend to be a girl, and you say, hey, I don't really use this site much. Maybe we could talk on my dating site. And then you give them your affiliate link, and they go sign up, and you make $3. That's e-whoring, by the way. You do make money at it. It's a lot of fucking effort, by the way. I did shit like that, so just so you guys know. And eventually, Dave Miz, credit to him, slapped some sense into me, said, he was talking about other people, he wasn't talking about me, but he said, all these guys try 200 different ways to make a quick buck, instead of just taking one idea and like properly executing it and following it through. They would make way more money if they just took one idea and finished it instead of trying to do 200 things cheaply, easy, quick, badly. And he was talking about me, and I was like, holy shit, he's right. If I had taken any one of these ideas and actually followed through, I'd be making more money than if I was just trying to cheat the system, which I was, by the way. Anyways, Patrick says, anyone here have experience in finding people who need a team to handle fulfillment behind the scenes? Yes, by the way. Just so you guys know, my first agency was a white label agency, and I did that for 10 years before white label even had a term. So if somebody asked me, I would not have said I'm a white label agency, because that term did not exist until like a decade ago. But I ran a white label agency for 10 years before it had a name. And I'll tell you, it actually sort of evolved organically. So it started out that I met a guy who designed a lot of websites. So he went to all the conferences, and he sold 300-400 websites a year. So he's selling like a website a day, almost every day, some days two. And a lot of those people said, can you help me get my website ranked in Google? And at that time, he didn't do that. And he didn't want to do that. He wanted to be a web designer. And so he was looking for somebody, and we connected on a forum. Black Hat World, by the way. Which is like a sketchy SEO, internet link building, where you do all the things you're not supposed to do that are naughty and against Google's terms of service. And he asked me if I could help him with one of his clients. And I didn't know he had hundreds of clients. I just knew about the one he was asking me about. And I helped him, and then eventually 1 became 2, and 2 became 3, and 5 became 10, and so forth. And eventually, we just signed 3 to 5 clients a week, every week, and that was the most normal thing in the world. We just added, anywhere from like, I don't know, 10 to 30 clients a month, every month, like clockwork. And here's what I learned in the process, is that if you want to create white label partners, you need to find people who have your target client and do not do what you do and do not want to do what you do. It's really that simple in terms of understanding. Now, it's not that simple in terms of execution, because sometimes finding those people can be tricky. So like for me, if I was trying to sell SEO, I would find people who made websites, sold websites, and had clients asking them about it, but didn't want to do SEO. I would not try and convince people who were not already in the game to go sell SEO for me. So usually I look at every service on a spectrum. And so if you look at your service as a step 2, then my question is, who does step 1 before you? So in my case, like if I sold SEO, then the step 1 before it was the website. So you may offer a different service, but chances are there's something else that happens for it. So for example, I have a guy who he does Google pay-per-click. And he says that almost always, and he does it for startups, he says almost always when they get into Google pay-per-click, the step before that is they get funding. Right? So I would want to know every single VC and person who does funding and the people who get a commission for it and the people who sell it and the communities they're part of. If I was trying to grow a white label agency like he is, and I would connect with everybody so that when they get funding and they go to run ads and it's like, do you know anybody? Yes, I am the guy or I am the girl or whatever, whatever it is you're into. If you guys want to be a upside down wizard frog, go for it. So anyways, that's my way of saying, like, you got to find the people who sell the thing one step before you. And Jay Abraham, by the way, he said how he likes to figure this out is he simply asks himself the question, what do they buy before, after, and instead of? And he says this creates all sorts of opportunities. So before, it tells you who to partner with. After, it tells you what to sell them next. Instead of, tells you where else you can make affiliate commissions, sending them other places. There's all kinds of opportunities to serve people in different ways. But if you want to grow a white label agency, just figure out what is the step before. And if you're not sure, by the way, I think the best person to ask is ChatGPT. Say, hey, trying to sell SEO. Before somebody invests in SEO, what are like the 10, 20 things they buy before me? They bought a new domain. Now they're going to need SEO, right? Like, well, if you can get a list of people who just bought a domain yesterday, you're going to have a lot better chance of selling them something than if you just, contact strangers off the street. Anyways, I hope that's helpful, my dude, but that's basically growing a white label agency. Growing a white label agency, by the way, is not all that different than growing any kind of agency. There's 6 methodologies that work. You either do one-to-one, you message people, cold DM, cold call, cold outreach. My least favorite thing I talk about the most because I get asked the most questions, but nonetheless, my least favorite. Second is you run some paid ads, you put your shit in front of them. Third is you publish content. Fourth is you network and you go meet those people and you shake their hands face to face. 5 is you create referral partners. And usually if you help other people to do shit, they want to help you back. That's how you get referral partners in a nutshell. And number 6 is audience owners, and that's my favorite way of doing it. You find the movers and shakers in the industry, you go collaborate with them, you create cool stuff, they send you people. That's it. Like, growing a white label agency is not all that different than growing an agency. And to me, what I would do is I would pick whatever one of those 6 things best fit my personality style. So for me, like, I'm an extrovert, as you guys can see, shooting my mouth off in video is very easy for me to do. But that does not mean that everybody should make video. Like, if you don't like shooting your mouth off on video, you probably shouldn't make videos. You should maybe, it's makes more sense to be like somebody's back-end referral partner, right? Their fulfillment sort of person. But I would find what fits your personality style and do one of those 6 things. Or, at least one of those 6 things. Lachlan says, $10 for book calls for my client getting ads. I know calls are forbidden in this group. Frankie Fihn, my question is, my ads killed it for 3 days, then nothing. Is this ad fatigue? Do I need new ad creative every 3 days to keep up the momentum? Would love some advice from people who use paid ads for a call funnel. Okay, so the short answer is Facebook ads work, but also have the most amount of complexity of all the ad platforms I have ever used. So to give you a contrast for that, so I think of Robert in our mastermind who has told me he's got an e-commerce client that he's been running Google ads for, and for more than 6 straight years, 6 count years, so if you count that in number of days, that's almost 2,000 days, maybe even like 2,000, like around 2,000 days. And they have ran one single ad that continues to work for 6 years. Right? So, like, just imagine that. And this is his client meetings. The ad's still working? Yep. Cool. See you next month. Right? So that's 6 straight years of that. That is Google ads. Google ads have a lot of other drawbacks. 1, they're more expensive. 2, they can be trickier to get work. They often require a bigger budget. And there's more sort of direct competition. But when you get that shit working, often you can run the same ad for a long period of time. Not like 6 years, like Robert. The opposite of that is the Facebook ad. The Facebook ad works, But like any social post, the nature of Facebook is any new post gets a surge of traffic and then dies shortly thereafter. Just how it is, right? And so when it comes to ads, Facebook ads are the opposite of set and forget it. So the first thing that I like to do when I run Facebook ads is I like to have what I call a decision-making process. For when do I change my ads? What do I change and how? And I believe after all these years, so I went through a period of time, just so you guys know, I invested hundreds of thousands of dollars of my own money figuring out Facebook ads. And I remember when I was going through that process, I listened to quote unquote all the experts because I did what they told me I had to do. And what they told me I had to do is split test everything. And so I treated everything in there as equally important. So that meant we only scale your winners by so much a day and make sure to check this. And we tested a lot of technical shit because that's what we were told to do. And so I had like thousands and thousands of split tests. Eventually, I came across a guy who had something called Brad's Ads. And Brad's Ads said, less but better. One fucking ad and come up with a great fucking hook. And I didn't care about optimizing this and optimizing that. So I believe Facebook ads, by the way, comes down to these are the four most important things. Targeting, who do you show ads to? Offer, what do you offer those people? Creative, what image do you use to get their attention? And then the copy and the messaging, what do you say to present that offer? Four things. And by the way, I just presented to you them in the order that they matter. Who you show ads to, most important. Second most important, what do you offer them? Third, what image you use to get their attention. Fourth, what messaging do you use to present that offer? So to me, if I'm trying to scale Facebook ads, I'm really just systematically testing on those four things. And I only test them one at a time. So I might run the same ad 3 times to 3 different audiences just to determine which audience is going to work. Second thing I will test is, what am I actually offering those people? One little tweak to the offer, by the way, can make a massive deal of difference to people. Now, having said that, it sounds like in your case, you're just brand new to running ads. You're spending a little bit of money. And that's my way of saying it don't mean shit. Don't mean shit. You're very early in the game. I'll tell you as a general metric, depending on your niche, what I look for if you're still doing calls, and by the way, like let's just have a moment to you got to pray to a virgin if you're running calls. But if you're running calls as a general metric, I look for between $100 and $300 per booked call, and I would expect to close 1 in 4 or 1 in 5 of those. And the reason why this matters is because when you're running paid ads, and I just got a bird who came outside my window. That's really cool. What's up, little guy? Oh, he just flew away. Bad idea. Don't startle the bird. As a general rule, I'm willing to invest 100% a month one. So that means if you got a $2,000 a month service, then I would be willing to spend $2,000 to go get a client because I'll make my money month 2, month 3, month 4, month 5. And so you have to be able to make the math work. And those are just some ballpark figures. Like it varies from industries. Like we have guys selling to orthodontists and dentists. Well, that's a really sort of like extra competitive market. So you're going to spend more than say, somebody mentioned earlier, I'm going after welders. Well, if you're trying to sell welders, there's probably not a lot of agencies selling welders. Your cost per call is going to be lower in those industries. But there is a tendency, by the way, and I'll tell you what all of this math, why I'm telling you this. Because I look at this kind of like when you're flying an airplane, and they got all the machinery to tell you if you're aiming at the right spot, especially when you're far away. When you're close and you can see the airport, that's different. But when you're 3 hours away, you're flying with machinery, because otherwise you don't know where the fuck you're aiming, right? And so one of the biggest things with data is that once I knew around how much I was supposed to spend per call and around how much I was my ads were supposed to vary and around what I needed to test next, suddenly it wasn't flying blind anymore. I didn't know whether, because in the beginning it was like you, it was is this good? Is this bad? I don't fucking know. Am I doing this right? And that's how I ran ads for at least a good year and a half. Is this good? Maybe. Don't know. And the minute I know, okay, I know what I'm aiming for, cost per call. I know what I'm aiming for in terms of sales metrics. I know I'm aiming for these things. And in your case, by the way, you are very, very, very early, and I wouldn't worry about just changing your creatives just yet. So I'll tell you the formula that worked for me after a lot of years of like trying a lot of shit. And this is not the way, this is our way. But I think the general consensus tells you got to test all the shit, and it's all equally important. And everything you do in advertising, by the way, affects the result. But it is not all equally important. Like those 4 things, that's what fucking matters. Who you show ads to, what you offer them, what creative you use to get their attention, what messaging you use to do it. Those are the 4 things that matter. So when I figured out the Brad's way of less but better, and mind you, we were testing hundreds of ads every week, and most of them, by the way, didn't work. Brad eventually said, come up with 1 great ad. And so what this meant for me is I would test as many really good ideas as I had at one time. And so I would have anywhere from 1 to 3 really good ad ideas. And so that meant many weeks I only ran 1 fucking ad. The best ad I could possibly come up with. And some weeks I'd have like 2 or 3. But generally speaking, I run 1 ad, 2 ads, 3 ads that are my best that I can possibly come up with. And I leave those babies at least for a week to see what happens. And they are anything but linear, by the way, because that's just the nature of social media. So it's not like $100 per call, $200 for 2 calls, $300 for 3 calls. It's more like we got 6 calls, we got 0. But what will happen as you iron this process out, which I believe the best way to do it is less but better. Just like come up with your best fucking ad, put it out there. Then come up with your best ad and put it out there. And eventually you'll have some winners in there. And then you might have 10 ads that you're running simultaneously, which are all your best ads. But it starts one at a time. And so to me, like, and then the other thing too is when you're new with running Facebook ads, there is a tendency to get real antsy every time you see your credit card getting dinged and not much happening, but you do have to just give them some fucking time. Like you just have to give them some, like it's not instantaneous. It's fast, but it's still not instantaneous. And that means like for me, if I click go on an ad, that is my best ad that I could come up with, give it a week, at least. And then next week, I'm going to test it against the very next best ad I could come up with. And eventually what you'll have is you'll have a collection of winners. Not immediately, by the way. And you'll be able to like book calls if that's what you want to do. Don't recommend it, but you can book calls. And you'll be able to scale your campaigns, and you'll be able to, in essence, acquire customers for free. Because, acquire clients for free. You spend $1,000 on ads, you made $2,000. Yeah, you might have some other costs, fulfillment and software and things like that. But at the end of the day, you got a customer and you didn't pay out of pocket to do it. And then month 2, month 3, month 4, month 5, month 6, especially if you know how to keep them, that's when you make the real money. So that's all I'm looking for. Is like more than anything, it's like, can I break even month 1 to go get them? And by the way, this gets harder and harder as your machine gets bigger. So when you're like, where you're probably at, where you're a single person running ads going to try and get some clients, your margins are basically like 100% minus ad cost. As you get bigger, now we got ad costs, but we got employees, we got software, we often have a salesperson in their commission, and often in those cases, I sometimes might not see money till like month 3. And so I just share that with you guys, those of you guys who are on the bigger levels of this. It's normal to, if you got a bigger machine and you got 80 clients and a team of 9 people, you'll make less money doing it this way. But you as the owner make the money month 3, month 4, month 5, month 6, because you got to pay. Salespeople want paid up front. Account managers want paid up front. Your media buyer wants paid up front, and so you have to be okay with I get paid on the back of that. But you'll make the most money. You just have to have the most amount of patience and timeline. Looks like that's all the questions we got. It's usually I'm good for an hour ramble on Mondays anyways. Appreciate you guys coming on here and doing this with me on Monday. For those of you guys who missed the intro, I just mentioned the Wolfpack is getting cooler, and I've done something I have not done basically forever, which is I lowered the price because we have more tools and more leverage, and I want to help more people. Within limits, of course. I'm a dude who's got amount of shit going on and 3 little kids, but if you guys are interested in getting some help on that, we are cheaper. Take advantage of that, because I'll tell you historically I do not lower prices, I only raise them. But if you guys are interested in checking that out, go to beyondagencyprofits.com. There's a link for the Wolfpack, and watch that little video. If you guys are just interested in checking out the price, you can like scroll to the last 5 minutes of the video where it tells you how much it is and shit like that. And if you think it makes sense, let's talk. Let's party together. Anyways, that's all I got for you guys on this Monday. Monday shocker. Appreciate you guys. I make cute babies. It is a fact. And much love, and may the force be with you.
Hey guys, if you like this video, you may also like my best-selling book here, Beyond the Agency Box. It is all about scaling a digital marketing agency while eliminating meetings and phone calls. We actually sell our stuff phoneless. We don't have any client meetings, and we also hire our team entirely without meeting phone calls, which allows us to, like actually kind of live a life. I've laid out the entire blueprint in everything you need to know, getting clients, onboarding, setting expectations, scaling, building a team, you name it. It has been a bestseller on Amazon now for over 5 straight years, but now you can get it even cheaper than you can get it on Amazon. So I can't tell you the exact price because it may change when this video is released, but there should be a link to it below, either in the description of the video or as well as a pinned comment. So if you're interested in that, check out that video and you can get a copy for super cheap.